Hey Scorpios, and welcome to your September 2017 General Tarot Forecast. This is Scorpio Sky here to give you guys hopefully another amazing reading for your month ahead. And I am very happy to have you with me on my channel this month because September does mark the 1-year anniversary of me uploading readings in this format. It has been an amazing ride, and it has been amazing to work with everyone and progress as much as I have on this channel. And I'm so grateful to my Scorpios who have backed me so much. We've all helped each other. We've all talked and discussed and shared experiences to try to work through what has been the Scorpio experience for the last few years. And hopefully we've made a little bit of headway. I do feel like in my own life I have, although I also feel like there must be more, too, than what is being experienced right now. For all Scorpios, I feel that it's kind of like we're stuck between realities or stuck between dimensional shifts or something. It's because Scorpio's energy feels very invested in different places. And I think that there has been a lot of trauma reaped due to this experience for everyone. It's been very common during the last year to see Scorpios completely changing their lives. A lot of cases you see where people think that you've had a change for the better, or you think that something has drastically improved, when in reality having transcended something can sometimes bring to Scorpio a new experience of difficult cycles, or a new experience of having to tame some kind of beast that is born due to a really nice experience. It's weird how that works. And I think that that's really been a lot of the Scorpio experience. I know that we've all kind of struggled with transcending past the traumatic experiences of Saturn and Scorpio, especially during 2014 and 2015. And now that Saturn has already almost made another cycle through another sign in Sagittarius, as it starts to move direct August 26th and does its last work in Sagittarius, it will be time to be done for Scorpios. It will be time to be done with the traumatic thing. It will be time to no longer be the wounded hero type of energy. It will time to be done with being the martyr, with being the person who sacrifices for other people so that they can have their happiness and so that they can be wholesome in their way. And it will really be amazing, I think, to see Scorpio actually starting over, because I think that Scorpio has fooled themselves in some way that, like, this is my new beginning, this is my new experience. And each time it has an echo of what the past experience was. And it's really only been a cycle. Like, the whole idea of regeneration and transformation is seen in the energy of Scorpio. So it's very common to see Scorpios always in some kind of transformation, always healing something, always regenerating some part of themselves. And I feel that this is part of what has become the negative cycle. And I feel that what September ultimately becomes for Scorpio is confronting the negative cycles. You have the devil as your central theme this month, and that's all about being connected to a scheme of energy, energetic pattern of some kind that does not yield you anything positive, that is not yielding other people positivity, or it's yielding other people positivity at the expense of your happiness. Scorpio feels very shackled right now, despite having a lot of new wonderful opportunities. A lot of new wonderful opportunities feel like they come with a huge sacrifice and a lot of new potential exclamations. I almost want to feel like where Scorpio is like showing the rest of the world what they're made of and finally sort of opening up and sort of exclaiming who they are, feel like they come at a really big cost. And that ultimately becomes September's goal for Scorpio, is to understand how to end that cycle, how to end the cycle of this huge price to voice your inner world, to voice your inner, what is it? There's like this, there's something, it makes me feel like it's an inner world. Yes, it's an inner specification, an inner opportunity that the rest of the world is not aware of. I feel that a lot of Scorpios have new ideas for their careers, new ideas for their aspirations that Scorpio may never have really done before, and that people can't really envision you doing. There's a lot of things like with Scorpio where they want to do something with their appearance or the way that they project themselves to the world, whether that be your job or your appearance or your daily actions that other people might just be like, I can't really see that for you. I can't really see you doing the record deal. I can't really see you with that hairstyle. I can't really see you with that kind of outfit or that kind of job. It just doesn't really seem like something you would do. There's a lot of that kind of casual conversation around Scorpio that isn't meant to be damaging and isn't meant to be severe. And it almost feels caring, which is another weird cycle for Scorpio where people are thinking that they're caring about you by voicing how you can't really do something or how you don't really fit into their idea of something. That's another cycle that's really big and potent for Scorpio. Is interesting. I'm kind of just realizing that as I start to kind of channel for this reading, where it's like Scorpio is very much attracting people who tell them what they can't see them doing rather than what they can see them doing. And it's not really bad, because I feel like that's, again, a result of Saturn, because I think before Scorpio had the transcension, the process of ascending and transcending their difficulties with Saturn, I think that Scorpio was doing a lot of things that couldn't yield a result, or Scorpio's mind was in a very low vibration in some cases where you needed people to be like, I can't see this for you, this is a problem, and you need to think elsewhere. But it's like, now that you've become a different person, now that you've changed who you are, and you realize that it doesn't really matter how you do in a field or what reaction you get to your expression. It's more about, jumping to the next dimension, jumping to the next energetic shift, having these people around you still telling you that they can't really see it for you is a problem. It's a big problem, Scorpios, and it's something that really has to be cut off at the root, because the Devil card, luckily, is upright, so it makes me feel like you're aware of this, and you're aware of who it is, and you're aware of why you've pulled them in. You're not trying to find excuses for yourself. You're not trying to make yourself the victim. You realize that you're caught up in some kind of addictive cycle with people or with things, and you just are struggling to understand how to cut it off and how to remove it in a way where you don't just compensate elsewhere. I think compensation is a big keyword in September. In what ways are you compensating for what you don't have, Scorpios? In what ways are you compensating for what you lost? In what ways are you compensating for what you could have? There's a lot of need for some kind of quick satisfaction or some kind of very instant gratification, some kind of very long-term goal that you've been working on that you want very quickly to be accomplished and to be gratified for that. And I feel that in a way that could be compensating you. And maybe Scorpios are addicted to completion. Maybe some Scorpios are addicted to finishing things and are not enjoying the process of making them and can only really see goals when they can see them be done. There's something there. Some of you are struggling with like substances as well. And when I say substances, I don't even necessarily mean like drugs, or whether they be like prescription or illegal or whatever. It can be like things that you don't even realize, like comforts. Like I have a terrible coffee addiction. It's not a terrible addiction, but it's just not really good for you. It keeps me up. I can't sleep, all that kind of stuff. And there are worse addictions to have, it's true, but it's the nature, and it's, how am I going to compensate? How are you going to compensate for that? And I feel that there are other addictions at the root of that, Scorpio, like the need to feel like you can create something for yourself. Like maybe you can make the best cup of coffee in the world, and as you're making that cup of coffee, you realize, wow, this took a long time, and I was in a bad place when I learned how to make this coffee, and when I was in that bad place, when I would make this coffee in the morning, it distracted me and it made me feel like there was hope. Or when I went through the coffee shop drive-through or whatever, I felt like, wow, there's hope, and I'm going to take this coffee and I'm going to take it back to my place and I'm going to get it together during the time that I have this coffee. And now that you've gotten it together, Scorpios, you're still needing that experience of making the coffee or going through the drive-through or something to like give yourself that gratification that you're still getting it together, when in reality it's pretty much together. So that's kind of a very specific scenario, but happening, I feel, to all Scorpios in some way, in a lot of different sectors of life, because Scorpio has a problem with prolonging coping mechanisms, and during traumatic times, Scorpio creates a lot, and Scorpio creates a lot of cycles to get them out of those times. The problem is once they're out, they tend to continue the cycles, and it just becomes this like back and forth from trauma to wellness. So finding new ways to embrace wellness, finding new ways to embrace a nicer lifestyle seems beautiful for you guys. Because another very strong message that seems to come through for Scorpios in September is the fact that all the tools are there, all of the content is there, but they're not in like the same room, or they're not in the same part or something. Like you have them, you own them, but you can't like mix them or use the tools for their purposes. So September is like, what tools do what for me in my life? I want to achieve this goal. I have the tools to do them, but how can I achieve more synergy? How can I achieve more symbiosis at an energetic level to actually find myself on that path without feeling so damaged? How can I do this without creating a crisis in my life? To fuel that, Scorpio likes to create crises to fuel shifts and to be forced to do what they can't do without a crisis. So that's not good this time of the year either. Finally choosing to jump on a path without being pushed by something scary would be optimum for you guys. Because you're a little bit stronger than you're giving yourself credit for. A lot of you have really been nurturing yourselves and holding yourself at a very low energetic standard, giving yourself extra time for rest if you can. A lot of you have at least been wanting to do that, which counts for a lot energetically. And also, taking your time to make what it is that you do. For those of you who are like business owners or create things for a living, it's like you're taking more time to do it and you're not, pushing your energy too hard. Now is a time where you can actually up your game a little bit, Scorpio, but only through making some healthy lifestyle changes, only through actually regimenting your sleep a little bit more, through regimenting your creative process a little bit more, and through regimenting the more softness in your mind and regimenting more softness in your reaction. It feels to me that that's really the main aspiration and goal for September, is a softness rather than a harsh, anxiety-ridden reaction to old stimulus. So through doing that, Scorpio, you find yourself on the path of, a really strong spiritual warrior. I see a lot of you becoming one with something that really frightened you before, choosing to step into scary or worrisome circumstances as a warrior and pushing through and doing the work here and having a payoff later. The very small amounts of integrity and purpose here, Scorpio, give you everything. You find your purpose in September. Most of humanity finds their purpose in September. September is huge for this because we are right on the other side of the eclipse. For you Scorpios who were born between like November 16th and November 21st or 22nd, the solar eclipse made something huge happen in your life. I feel that you haven't realized it moving into the beginning of September, but by the end of September, it's very blatantly obvious. Huge changes, things moving out of your life and things being reintroduced whether you like it or not. All Scorpios will feel that to an extent, but especially the Scorpios born again from like November. It could be like 14th or 15th, but through the end of the Scorpio cycle, because the eclipse happened at 29 degrees of Leo. By the way, I am a Scorpio sun of 29 degrees, so I'm feeling this very strongly. And I feel that for me, things are predictable, and I feel that things are distant in a way, but I feel that things have changed and that things will never be the way that they were, and I feel that I am different and I feel that I am new. And how that will transgress, how that will move forward in my experience is something that I'm very excited for, and I'm choosing not to worry and I'm choosing not to be fearful. And that is the goal for all of humanity really in September, I feel, and it's hard, and I find myself at certain times of the day not being able to follow through on that, but it is my goal and my intention to lose the fear and lose the fear of loss. So I feel that may be good for everybody if we can do that. It's an intention. I don't know if I'll be able to reach it, but if as Scorpio you can remove a fear of loss, you've done very well. And if you can shoot for it, you're on the right path. Anyway, long reading. I want to go ahead and get into the week to week before I run like a 40-minute video or something. Anyway, in the first week, you guys have Three of Pentacles rooted down by Page of Swords. I think that you're making plans here, and I think that you are kind of figuring out how you can start to become more healthy. You could be consulting like different people, like maybe hiring new people, or maybe seeing new doctors or something relating to like new insight on anything that you've been dealing with for a long time. It can be really positive or negative depending on your choices, Scorpio. So I feel like you can very easily manifest new great insight about health problems or new great financial advice, or you can manifest like gossip, or you can pull in some kind of person who doesn't mean what they say or says weird things. Page of Swords is kind of a difficult energy for Scorpio to understand because they don't really think emotionally, and Scorpio thinks very emotionally. It could be a sign that you've got to work on that a little bit, Scorpio, like removing a little bit of the emotion from your thoughts, like building a more solid logical structure within yourself that is a bit less emotional would be good during this time, just so you can understand what it is that you really want in life. A lot of your goals are very based on your emotions, which is a good thing. I mean, you can see somebody who goes through like a really difficult health crisis and then makes like the best charity foundation to solve this health problem in the future because of that emotional attachment. But you also see the type of person who creates some kind of goal to capture somebody's attention. And once they don't do that, they become completely self-sabotaging. So you have to be careful about understanding why you want what you want during this time. Why do you want why do you want to go to medical school? Why do you want to go to law school? Why do you want to be married to this person? Is it because it has detached unemotional progress for you, or is it because your emotions need this from you? One way or another, you need to build something very sturdy and logically sound in the first week. A schedule would be good to build, a new project, ideas for a new project, that's all really good. It's a pretty light week in general, where I don't feel like there's a lot of consequences or a lot of difficulties. Maybe a lot of you are just very busy. You feel very booked up during this time to me. Second week, you guys have strength rooted down by Nine of Swords, and I think that this is where the eclipse energy really hits you. I think this is where the energy of the last few years really hits you, because there's something that comes forward very directly about how strong you've been or how much you've had to lose but you've chosen to keep. About how much... That's interesting. So I was talking earlier about addictions and how you've kind of lost control with that, but something about the second week evokes a necessity to understand that despite struggling with an addictive tendency in your life, overall you have resisted a very strong temptation. This could be reaching out to an ex, or this could be reaching out to somebody that was very important to you, choosing to derail your life because you experienced loss in some way. And through this loss, through this experience of not getting what you expected, you could have derailed, but you chose not to. However, you did kind of implement a few coping mechanisms that were not the healthiest thing. And it feels to me that the second week of September comes in to give you guys ability to combat the new addictions that you're struggling with by understanding how much you actually overcame. It feels to me it's something like that. I think that maybe you also start to get the strength to overcome like old sleeping patterns or something. If you've been struggling with like insomnia, Nine of Swords always talks about like insomnia or depression or anxieties that make you lose sleep at night. So it feels that you get the strength to start to overcome those types of things. Also just patterns of self-sabotage again. It's just such a month of patterns and cycles with the devil there and the Nine of Swords. So maybe things that give you that anxiety or that feed that insomnia, you now have the ability to not reach into. Like maybe some of you really dwell on the past or have like old items from the past of situations that can no longer be, that you have sort of an addiction to looking at, like maybe belongings of somebody who died who was close to you, who is no longer here, and you know that you can never see them again in this type of reality, but you still hold their things very close. And that type of thing is all of what Scorpio's energy has been wrapped up in for a long time, and that energy can extend into other things that seem unrelated, but something about trying to prolong the life of things which have not been able to live any longer has been supplementing this addictive and self-sabotaging nature that is present in Scorpio. So the second week feels to me to be what gives you the purpose and ability to overcome and change this cycle. The third week, you guys have 8 of Pentacles reversed, rooted down by Knight of Pentacles. I think that once you find your purpose in the second week, it becomes about using that purpose to create and using that purpose to change your reality. Something about your creative process may not be good enough right now or organized enough, specifically for those of you who are business owners or create things like, I don't know whether you're an artist or whether you build things, like you're an engineer or something. Something in your process is not quite right, or there's like a snag in the system, or there's something that is disorganized, and maybe because you're really starting to face some of these inner turmoil issues that you've been dealing with, you now start to realize that was an innate part of how you created, and you now have to sort of find new avenues towards creation, which should be a very enjoyable process for you guys, and also something that can bring a lot of money. Knight of Pentacles does root that down. So something that changes your financial longevity for the future does come in with that type of energy. This can also be a male Taurus, Capricorn, or Virgo energy, or just a male masculine earth energy who might come in to, again, like supplement what you're doing. Maybe you get advice from somebody like this. It does feel like that would be a good advice to get. Some earth type energy to really complement your water energy would be good, because earth and water are more harmonious elements. So I think that if you can consult earth signs, or if you're hiring, maybe earth signs are a good place to start. And also just being able to detach a little bit more from your emotions when you are in the creative process. It's like you have the content that needed that for like the artists out there. The content that needed the emotional connection is now there, and you kind of have to step into more of a production-oriented headspace where you're more of like an earth sign, and you're finishing things and you're fleshing things out based off of what you've created over like the last year or two. So that's definitely a really potent message for those of you creators. Relating to relationships, this can be a sign that you have to definitely remove the emotional ties in the situation, and that's echoed throughout your entire reading. You've got to look at relationships for what they are, sort of outside of the emotional spectrum, and what they're producing, what they are giving in the future, and what the nature of the relationship is in a less emotional way will either help you to understand that that's where you need to be or that you need to leave, type of thing. In the fourth week, you guys have Judgment rooted down by Knight of Wands reversed. And this is where the transformation starts to happen. The first 3 weeks of September become you finding your purpose, because Scorpio has been very disconnected from this for a long time. And also finding that which sort of shifts you more into like a spiritual warrior type of energy, where you're not just letting everybody put upon you, where you're not just letting everybody pull you down, and at the same time you're honing in on your giving nature, but not to the extent where you're martyring yourself, finding that happy balance, and sort of warrioring through that which takes that away from you, elicits this transformation that starts to happen in the fourth week, which is a transformation that merges more air, earth, and fire energy into you. You're so watery, you're so deep, you're so emotional, you're so powered by other realms. And if you notice, there are no water court cards, so you're not really pulling in foreign water energy. Something happens where you start to evolve into a more whole-rounded person, which is really nice to see for you guys. Also, maybe where you can travel more, where you can be around more. Scorpio has really needed a home base, and now maybe I think that you are able to create that wherever you are. Knight of Wands is about traveling and about adventure and spontaneity, although it is reversed, so this might seem a bit foreign to you, or this might feel a bit counterintuitive, because Scorpio does like to put down roots. You are a fixed sign. But it is definitely a message of needing to access more spontaneity and needing to, because there's a need to regiment this month, but I feel that there's a need to regiment in ways that you haven't and become more fluid in ways that you are not. reversing everything. Maybe you have to have a very specific circumstance that aids you in your creative process, otherwise you can't do it. Whereas your sleep or your eating habits are completely fluid. It feels like the sleep and eating habits need more regimentation, and the creative habits need more fluidity. There needs to be like a reverse in the spectrum there. And again, just having the devil card as your central theme, you see the cycle, Scorpio. You see the problem, and you see how to fix it. But the mission in your life in September becomes, how do we bridge this? How do we connect these things? Can we be brave enough to address it all? Because you will be very rewarded if you can really step into the place of the spiritual warrior this month. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes forward for you guys, and the adventures that you find yourself on, because it's a very adventurous month, both in the physical realm and in the more ethereal realms. So I'm so happy for you guys. You're in a much better place than you were a year ago, but at the same time, you're still getting past it. But you actually feel like you can now, and if you're not feeling like you can, you're fooling yourself, because the Scorpios are pretty strong at this point in time. Definitely one of the more benevolent signs in general right now. Just a little bit like polarized. Anyway, if you guys haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would so appreciate it if you did that. And also, if you hit the bell to the right of the subscribe button, you will be notified whenever I upload, which will be great because I have more content coming other than just general readings soon. And I would love for you guys to be able to hear about that in advance. Also, if you would like to book a private reading with me, that should be in the center of your screen right now. And your likes and comments keep me going. I will be talking to you guys soon. Much love. Bye.